Please don't date men when you are not dateable. I know I've said this before, but it's been a while and I just had a reminder about this. My mutual, Therese, I'm going to tag her. She's reading this book right now. This one, This American Ex-Wife. I did a video last week about this book, like an interview of that this author did, but I don't remember if it's across platforms. It is on YouTube, but I don't know if it's anywhere else. So I haven't read the book yet, but the interviews and everything I've seen so far, it sounds great. So, but Therese is reading it and shared something with me, and this made me think of my own story around this. So I guess the author ended up, when she looked back on her marriage and when she got into it, it was during a very unstable time. There was there's a crisis in her family. So this relationship was the only stable thing in her life. And so when I say, are you dateable? I don't mean like, are you like a good catch or any of that stuff. What I mean, and this is so important because this literally almost cost me my life. When I ended up in that abusive relationship, it was because I had just left New York. I was pretty sure I was going to move to LA, but I was really kind of lost because I was done with New York. I did not want to be I loved my time there. I think I was almost 7 years there, but it just wasn't, we were meant to date, not marry. Do you know what I mean? My relationship with places is very similar to like dating, honestly. That's probably why I've hopped around so much. I'm just trying everything out. But I always knew it was just temporary, right? But I wasn't sure where I wanted to be. Where to put my roots down, or I wasn't even ready for that yet. So I went back to New Mexico to figure it out. And I'd also submitted a book proposal to my agent at the time that I had spent almost a year writing and almost $10,000 hiring a man to help me with that book proposal. And that man ended up being very predatory, changed the whole story, basically turned the book into not at all what I wanted, but he convinced me that that's what would sell. And then I found out when I was in New Mexico, where I thought I would be writing, because I had, blurbs from famous people. I had all these things that seemed to line up that this thing would sell, and it didn't. It didn't sell. So I thought I was going to be in New Mexico to write my book, and it didn't sell. So instead, I'm living in at first I was living in a trailer in the winter. Then I was like couch surfing. So everything was very unstable for me, right? I didn't know if I wanted to stay there. I didn't know what I was doing. All my friends had babies now. So I'm a single woman who's like 36, going back to the place that she used to be a raft guide and a ski instructor. And basically it was like going back and like revisiting a chapter in your life that you were done reading and didn't need to go back and visit, right? So I felt really lonely because my friends were very, just so consumed with child rearing, right? I can't ski anymore because my ACL, it's winter time, like whatever. So I'm waiting tables at a pizza shop at the age of 36, after years in the film industry and a promising writing career and, a moth-winning storyteller, like I had all this training and I thought my career was going like this. And then I got this setback. I was lost. I had never dated anybody seriously. I really wanted to try it out, but didn't really know how. I was also, celibate at the time and had been for a really long time, off and on, basically. 12 years of my adult life, I did not even like mess with men at all, which I'm very, very proud of myself for that, honestly, because my life would have sucked if I'd got into a relationship. Based on all the trauma that I had and hadn't dealt with. So I'd done all these amazing things in my life and in my career, but this was a career setback. And since my creative life is the thing that has given me more joy than anything, to have this major setback and also be in $10,000 worth of debt from paying this man that I later learned was a total predator and had done this to other women. Be careful what men you let help you. Do not let men help you. They're always in it for something. This or something. Don't let men help you. There's exceptions to the rules, but in general, they are always wanting something. It's transactional. And so I'm working at this pizza place. Don't have many friends. Feel very lost. My sense of purpose has taken a big hit. My sense of like, I'm really good at this thing, but apparently not good enough. I have no financial security. I have nothing but debt, and I'm waiting tables at the age of 36, serving pizza in this town that I lived when I was in my early 20s. I was like, what have I done? Oh my God. But I can't move back to New York. Don't have money for that. Can't move to LA because I don't have money for that. I'm stuck, right? So then I'm working with this very exciting guy who I didn't realize had a girlfriend. This is what they do. They withhold that information as long as possible until we had a whole thing. And then I was like, oh my God, what? There's so many parts of this story. And then one of the dishwasher who I cared a lot about died tragically, tragic death. And at that funeral, I had just found out, I had just gotten the email from my agent 2 days before that my book didn't sell. And I got that email, and then this death happened. And at that funeral, he comforted me, and he was so gentle. And all of our coworkers were at the Taos Pueblo, a part of this really moving ceremony in this space that we were invited into, which is a very sacred space, right? It was a very, very emotional, very hard moment for all of us to lose this coworker. And and then this man swoops in, comforts me. And that's the minute it was over for me. All of the logic that I had of I always knew this dude was bad news. But I didn't think I would fall for him. You know what I mean? I thought I was too smart. I always knew that this meant, all of that went out the window because I had no sense of security. My confidence took a hit. I was mourning this friend, this coworker. You're usually I loved this coworker so much. And it was a tragic, I don't want to go into details because I don't want to. But so Taos, every single tragic death I've ever experienced in my life happened in Taos. Very intense town. Lovely, but also intense. And so the community, we were mourning together. So I was very vulnerable. And all the red flags that I knew were there and I saw, I didn't take seriously because it felt good to be comforted. It felt good to have something to look forward to. It felt good to feel, not alone in this moment where I was lost, had left my life in New York and felt very alone. Again, my friendships that I assumed were going to be there, they were there, but those people are busy with toddlers, so it's not the same. I was very, I'm 36, don't want to get married, don't really want kids, definitely don't want kids. And yet everyone in my life has kids and is married more or less. And I'm a waitress and a failed artist, right? And this man swooped in and I almost died because I dated this man in a low moment. All of my defense mechanisms, the good ones, not the projection or all of my healthy boundaries, all of my sense of self, all the work I'd done on myself was diminished because of this one relationship. I had to start over. This man took me so far backwards, financially, emotionally, mentally, and then left me with years and years of trauma that I'm still dealing with. It's been almost 10 years and I'm still nightmares, have PTSD, have invasive memories. And the amount of damage that this one man that I was with for 9 months or less, I don't even know, irreparable damage, because in a moment of weakness, I thought, well, it's good to date someone right now. What's the worst that could happen? So what I'm saying is that if you are not thriving in your personal life, it doesn't mean you have to be making a lot of money. It doesn't mean you have to have reached all your goals. What I'm saying is that if you don't have close friendships or a sense of community, if you don't have stability, if you've just moved to a new town, do not date someone when you just moved to a new town. Please don't. And don't let anyone who's just moved to a new town date you. I have a whole nother story about that. These men who show up and they have just moved there, they don't have friends, you are going to get screwed. If you've just lost your job, if you've just lost a parent, if you just had some sort of really difficult trauma or some sort of destabilizing, if you just had bed bugs or you just got evicted or something huge shakes your sense of stability and confidence and sense of connection and community and sense of self, do not date, because the men who swoop in those moments are usually predators, and those men could derail your life or take it. You will never convince me that men, the predatory men, aren't looking for women who are in the moment of weakness, especially like strong, independent women or whatever. They love women like us because they know, with especially the hobos, they know that we will pay the bills, that we can take care of them, we can do all this stuff, that like, and they look for a moment when we have our guard down. And that's when they come in, they swoop in, especially because it's so rare that women who take care of themselves, whether being forced to take care of themselves or wanted to, because I know that a lot of women have no choice but be the caretaker of everyone and provide for everyone, especially women who come from any of the intersections and have, especially if you grow up poor, like there's all kinds, like there's so much nuance to this conversation, okay? But what I've noticed is that with all of the women that I know who are really, tough or strong or whatever, right? I didn't think I could be taken advantage of because I was a climber, and it's a tomboy, and like no men are messing me. But the thing is that every once in a while something happens where they see a crack. They're like, oh, she's not as, you know what I mean? And they wait for that moment of being really vulnerable because of something that happens to you or in your life or in your home situation or something. And that's when they come in and provide all this loving care and nurturing that you actually deserve and really want and never even admit to yourself that you need. And this man, I had never been cared for like that. I have never had a man cry on my shoulder and let me cry on his shoulder. I had never had that. I didn't know what that was, like a romantic partner, because I never really dated. I had like hate forks and one night stands and there was never any emotional intimacy. And this man was like, offering, he cooked me special food at the restaurant. He did all these like nurturing things for this tough woman, so that when my guard was down, he swooped in, and I finally got to be somebody who didn't have to take care of myself for 1 second. You shouldn't have to take care of yourself all the time. This is how, like, a lot of people like myself who are like, I'm hyper individualist, I don't need nobody, right? When and if I admit to myself that I do, those are the very moments that you need to be very careful, right? Men will they will exploit you when you're doing great, and they'll exploit when you're doing not so great. They'll exploit you when you're in the middle, whatever. But the point of this video is that if you are not feeling really stable and really safe, and by safe, I mean it could be physically safe, emotionally safe, your health could be going wrong anytime. Do not trust what men say who just show up and want to help you, because you're not going to make decisions based on your intuition. You might be making decisions based on needing a sense of security and safety and stability, right? I'm not saying that any men you meet during this time are predators. Okay? And I'm not saying if you met someone in a time in your life that was difficult, that's going to end terribly and you're going to get divorced and he's an abuser. I'm not saying that at all. Sometimes timing is weird. Okay? Sometimes, whatever. I'm just saying, please don't be actively dating or like open to relationships and thinking, because you can't pour into a relationship anyway. If you are in survival mode, you really can't show up in a relationship in a healthy way, because part of you is checked out anyway. And we might be doing what I remember I talk about men's escapism all the time, and they will literally do anything to avoid themselves. Well, what I've seen is that a lot of women, myself included in this instance, used a man and the excitement of a new relationship. And I was also like manipulated and all that stuff. Like this dude did all of the things that trick women, okay? It's not all like me, right? He was very smart and tactical, okay? But what I am saying is that it was a very convenient escape out of mourning this huge loss in my life, which was this book. Spend a year of your life telling this story that meant so much to me, that I had sacrificed so much time, love, energy, even money, lots, all this money I lost. And instead of sitting with that grief I was distracted by an exciting man who almost drove me off a cliff and raped me multiple times and left me traumatized. So be careful. Make sure that when you're dating, you are dateable, that you are not looking for a distraction from whatever thing that's really hard for you to deal with right now, right? Because men do this all the time. But when women do this, it's deadly. We could die because our defenses are down. We're not listening to our intuition because we're in survival mode instead of like centered in a sense of stability and safety with ourselves. When you're in high alert, you can't make the best decisions usually. And just one bad dating decision, especially when you're not in a good place, can literally derail your life forever. Could financially ruin you, could take your life, could traumatize you. And the price that I'm paying, besides the financial abuse from this man, the physical abuse, the schmegsual abuse, but the price that I'm paying in terms of therapy and all this crap to deal with this, and the price my husband has to pay of me dealing with all this PTSD that keeps showing up now, in all my relationships, but especially with men. Like, it's a big price everyone in my life has had to pay, but especially me. Because I went against my own intuition, which I knew I shouldn't be dating any man when I'm feeling that bad about myself. But I was kind of like, and I literally said in my chair one day, fork it. What's the worst that could happen? Well, all it takes is one man, one time, and you could lose your life. I'm not saying this to scare people. I'm saying please don't take dating lightly. Getting in relationships lightly. Dealing with men who are our biggest predator lightly. If you're not feeling good, you're not feeling confident in yourself, and don't trust yourself to make great decisions when there's so many predators out there who are going to exploit any weakness that they see in that moment of vulnerability. Please be careful, and please share any of your own stories, resources, advice, wisdom in the comments. They're so helpful to people who sub, and I love reading them too.